to Tabula Rasa, bitches!
Hello!
Hello!
My name is Allie.
And I'm Nick.
And welcome to episode 4 of Tabula Rasa, bitches. We're so glad you are here.
In Tabula Rasa, bitches, you'll listen as two decades-long friends jump back into the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and relive the show that brought them close together and taught them so many of the values they still cherish today. And side note for our friends, we'll be discussing this episode, spoilers and all. If you haven't watched and don't want to hear the spoilers, hit that pause button, go to your watching, and come back. We are so excited to have you back.
And each episode of Tabula Rasa, bitches, will dive into an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and discuss the lessons that can be learned from our favorite Sunnydale warriors and the supernatural creatures they use their talents and friendship to overcome. Today we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 4, Teacher's Pet. And real quick, before we sidle into our episode summary, if you missed our first episode, you might be wondering about the show title, Tabula Rasa, bitches. Tabula Rasa refers to something later in the series, much later. We'll get to that eventually. But you may or may not know, Tabula Rasa means clean slate. And Nicholas and I are watching these episodes with a clear mind, seeing, what comes up new. So kind of a blank slate like that. And shout out to Leanna Haupt for her suggestion for the title.
I heard Leanna is brilliant.
She is indeed. She is a very dear friend of mine. She is a writer, director, and she also works for like a Grubhub type company, but that's not important. She's lovely and we love you. So hope you're listening.
What a doll. We are grateful to you.
All right, Nicholas, would you like to get us rolling with our episode summary?
I would be thrilled to jump right into the episode summary. So, when one of Buffy's favorite teachers, a science teacher, goes missing and later turns up dead, students wonder what happened. The male students quickly get over their concern when a sexy substitute teacher, Miss French, shows up the next day and begins flirting with all the boys in her class. Buffy suspects there is more than meets the eye with this substitute teacher. The next day, Miss French invites Xander to her home, which is a big yikes, to, quote, work on a school project. Xander follows the invitation, and we learn that Miss French is actually a She-Mantis who plans to mate with Xander before killing him. Buffy and crew discover where Miss French is keeping the boys she seduces, and Buffy kills the She-Mantis just as she is about to have her way with Xander.
Yeah, big yikes. Big yikes on this one. Yeah, it's an odd one for sure. It starts off with this delightful dream, whatever. Xander's asleep in class and he's having this excellent fantasy. And my first note is, yes, that red dress. Buffy's in a super sexy satin mini dress, and I love it.
She's looking sextastic. She's crushing it in her red dress.
Absolutely. And I am all about confident dream fantasy Xander. That's a good look on him.
The first note I took is that I would bang Nicholas Brendan.
Heck
This
yeah.
one. Yeah.
No.
I would bang Nicholas Brendan in this scenario.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Nicholas Brendan / Xander was a very early crush of mine and still holds a very dear spot in my heart to this day. I love this teacher, this science teacher. He is exactly the kind of teacher I would have loved, just the no nonsense, like do the work and we'll be buds, but I just like, he's not coddling her, but he's actually on her team, which is lovely.
He holds her accountable to the high level that we all know she can perform at. I have had a teacher give me tough love in the way that Buffy got tough love, and it was very impactful for me. I appreciate it looking back.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love his line, let's make them eat that permanent record.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, and I think that's lovely. And I did definitely have the question in my head of like, why is one of Buffy's teachers getting access to her permanent record? Like, is Flutie just showing it around to all of her teachers? That's not okay. That's not cool.
Well, yeah. So in the way he says it, there is no other pretext for him to have it. We are left to assume that it is a known fact, at least among the staff, although probably the students too. But that's not okay. Poor Buffy.
Yeah, like it's hard enough trying to start over, especially given her past. And then you're just gonna tell everybody? It's rude. Luckily
Yeah.
she had this teacher, but also not so lucky because he ends up dead.
As
Also,
good teachers do
as
at
as
Sunnydale High.
true. As we're recording this, I did make a note for those listening along, and hopefully this is still true by the time that we are actually publishing these episodes. But at the time of this recording, Buffy is free on Amazon Prime. That's at least where I'm watching it because I don't actually have a DVD player anymore. So though I own all the seasons, I'm watching it on Amazon.
I didn't know that it was on Amazon Prime. I used to watch it on Hulu, and now I have the ripped versions of it.
So they're at the Bronze as they do. And it was fun. I recognized the song, the band that's playing songs I already met you. I forget the name of the band, but I used to listen to Buffy the album constantly.
There's a Buffy album?
Yeah. So it's a bunch of songs, really mostly just from the first season, maybe the second season too, but it's a bunch of songs that play mostly in the Bronze.
I've tried a few times to track down this was a thing in the 90s, early 2000s. Like they did it on Charmed a lot. They would have people, they would have like up and coming bands.
They did it on
perform as
Smallville
part-
too.
And I have always wondered if the same is true here. Like have these bands, like are these actual bands?
Yes. The bands that play at the Bronze are actual bands.
That's neat.
With, I think, the exception of Oz's band, or maybe Oz is a, in real life, a superfluous member of an actual band. But yes, those are actual bands that you can find. If you search just Buffy the album, that's what the CD is called, and you should be able to find the track list.
That's very neat. We'll put a link in the bio, friends.
Yeah.
I have a note from that Bronze scene. So Angel gives Buffy his coat, which is very sweet. And I wrote, Angel, Buffy is really cold. I think she could use your tank top too.
So cold. I'm just so cold.
Right.
Yes, I love that move of giving somebody your jacket. I'm a very scent driven person. So, whether it be the guy's shirt or a jacket or whatever, just like this, like having that smell and it's warm from them. And it's just the best. And I love her showing up to school the next day in the jacket. That's such a move.
So another question that I have is, I know what my parents would have done if I had started wearing a strange man's jacket but hadn't met him. What would your parents are cooler. They probably would have been like,
they would have had questions. It's hard to really say with any certainty what their reaction would have been, as I was bitterly single all through high school. So yeah, hard to know. I mean, my dad was certainly never like baseball bat by the door kind of thing, which I was a little bit offended by. Like, he never got that defensive, and neither did my brother. And I was like, yay, but also, do you just not care at all?
Protect me.
Protect me. I mean, be nice, but like, protect me. It was, yeah, weird. I'm, of two minds of that. But yeah, so I think they would have had questions. I think they probably would have been okay with it. I think they just would have wanted to know what's going on. Not in terms of like I'm in trouble, but in a communicate with us. What's going on? What's going on with your life? Also, me, I can't shut up. So they would have known everything about the situation as soon as it happened.
I bet they would have known that you were talking to this dude. That's lovely. It's a nice jacket. I would wear it everywhere as well.
Absolutely. I love Willow's line. He's one of the only teachers that doesn't think Buffy's a felon.
I wrote that down too. Yeah, that's so good. Which is both hilarious, but I don't know, sad too. I feel
it's
so
like
good.
it's a funny because it's true. I have a question for you. Did you ever have a crush on a teacher?
Ever have a crush on a teacher? No, I don't think I did. Let me go back through the male teachers I had in high school.
See, mine was from elementary school. By the time I got to high school, we had a lot of old guys at high school,
I was just thinking about the old men that I had teach me, which no. Elementary school. Maybe.
Do you
No, I
remember?
don't think
Do you
so.
remember Mr. Clark?
Mr. Clark was the one person I
Uh-huh.
was
He looks
thinking
like Tom
about.
Wellington,
Yeah, he did.
aka Clark Kent from Smallville.
He hated one of, I'm not going to name my best friend in 5th grade, but the dude that I hung out with a lot in 5th grade, Mr. Clark, hated him. So I think that I felt, I don't know.
Yeah.
This friend who shall not be named, got in trouble for me all the time. Yeah, I would do something and he would get blamed for it. And I wouldn't say anything. I'm not narking on myself, but
I
5th
remember
grade.
I got into this heated argument with him because there was a quiz that was supposed to be Thursday and he like moved it up to Tuesday, but he made it open note. Now as I'm older, I'm like, who cares? He made it open note, like whatever. And you were a good student, you took notes, so it's not as if you didn't have notes. But little Allie was so enraged on principal. Like, it's the principle of the thing. You said the test was Thursday. That's when it should be. And he's like, but Allie, I made it open note. And I'm like, I don't care. This is when you said the test was. I was just so one-track mind.
I'm going to side with 5th grade Allie here. That's not, I prepped for it. I have arranged my study schedule as such.
But he made it open note.
Maybe I have test anxiety. Who knows? Maybe
true.
I need to psych myself up. Who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, like, the story is I did not have test anxiety. I had plenty of notes. I never struggled with grades.
You were just pissed.
Yeah, it was just like simply a principle of the thing that for some reason was a sticking point for me.
That is so funny. Mr. Clark, if you're listening, are you still cute? Probably. I don't know.
Probably. He had a great head of hair. The things I remember.
I hope his ears are burning right now.
That would be funny. He also did one day in the hall. Because I used to wear my hair in a bun all the time, and he squished the bun. He squished my bun.
I remember you would have this net. You would have this net thing that you would wear.
Yeah,
it was cute. I liked it a lot.
That was a thing.
Nice. And I would always.
Yeah, for those who go to Renaissance festivals and know what a snood is, I decided that in 5th grade it would be cool if I wore my snood to school.
It was cool.
No,
you were
it wasn't.
cool.
No, it really wasn't. But it happened nonetheless, and I appreciate that sentiment. Anyway, continuing on with inappropriate things that teachers do.
Yeah, so I remember this episode being weird, but just the second that substitute teacher walks in and every guy's head turns.
Which is fair. Which is fair. Hot teachers are a thing, and you're allowed to appreciate them on site. And I mean, they're teenage boys, or and whatever closeted lesbians were in the high school class too. Like, I'm sure they were enjoying it. Eye candy is always an appreciated thing. Her face when they say that praying mantises are ugly.
Yeah,
she's like, I will cut a bitch.
I have a quote from there. She's like, why do they live in solitude or something? And Buffy says, words bug ugly come to mind.
Right, exactly.
Buffy.
Ooh, her face. Yeah.
I also have a funny quote right before then. Blaine has generously volunteered to show Miss French the way to class, and he says something like, oh, it's right next to the varsity field where I took all city or something. And just the outsized weight that I put on meaningless accomplishments in high school, thinking that they would mean anything to a potential sexual partner who's an adult.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's clearly probably not gonna care. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird the things that we find important then. And I don't know.
For him.
It is an accomplishment if you're like an all-state champ and stuff. He worked hard to get that.
And you know what? Good for him. Good for Blaine.
But it is funny the way he's not so subtly slipping in there. Yeah, varsity football, blah, blah, blah.
I have a note that I intentionally suspended my disbelief about how much the substitute teacher knows about the subject she was teaching and other things happening at the school, because the subs that I had didn't have a clue about trigonometry.
Yeah, it's certainly convenient timing as they happen to be in their insect bugs unit in biology. Definitely interesting. I have a note here. When she's out patrolling for the fork-handed stabby guy, and a bum walks by and is like, you shouldn't be out here. It's not safe. I just had the thought of, I would love to see someone try to mess with Buffy. Like some creepy dude, a human dude being creepy at night. I would love to see him try something. Just fucking try.
I think he had an alcoholic beverage in his brown bag too.
Pretty sure he
so
did.
the thought of an inebriated creepy man try something with the Slayer is also hilarious to me.
Yes, she would break your back. A vamp running away from something would scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, that's sketchy.
And I think and they do appropriately appreciate the meaning of that. Like, what is this? That a vampire's running away scared.
I think this is a vampire who's packing extra stuff too. He's got the creepy hand.
Big Freddy Krueger hand, and he's scared. So that's a pretty big deal. I lied. I'm a bad person. Let's move on. Giles is like, after I expressly told you not to go patrolling, she's like, yeah, I lied. I'm a bad person. Let's move on. Love that.
Same. I don't know if this has happened yet. I have an iconic Cordelia phrase noted when she's in the cafeteria and she goes on to open the fridge to find the dead body, but she says, she bumps into Buffy. She goes, "Excuse you." And then she walks into the back area of the cafeteria and says, "I'll only be here as long as I can hold my breath." Cordelia, you are such a funny bitch. I'm obsessed with you.
Absolutely. I just have an awe. Principal Flutie. He means so well.
In this instance, he's a treasure here.
Oh, I mean, the whole time. I
great.
think he is nothing but well-meaning in a county that clearly isn't valuing education. I'm going to assume that whatever county they're in is not super well-funded or any of that. He is so clearly in it for the right reasons. He's not power tripping. I mean, the things that he gets on Buffy's case about, like skipping school, that's valid. She is skipping school. He has no idea that she has a higher calling. So from his eyes, it is perfectly reasonable to call her out on those things.
He is adorable, and I like him. Also, love pushing therapy on everybody. Everybody should be in therapy.
100%.
There's another iconic Cordelia phrase here that Buffy overhears. She says, "I'm not saying we should kill a teacher every day so I can lose weight. I'm just saying when tragedy strikes, we have to look at the bright side." Good for you, Cordelia. You're right.
What a champ.
You do have to look on the bright side.
Yeah, I mean, is she a vapid popular girl, or is she just spinning everything to the best of her ability?
Who knows?
Life gave her lemons. She's not saying like she needs lemons, but they're already there.
Weigh in, listeners. What do we think?
So, yes, this is a weird episode with the whole like teacher preying on students, but like that's the thing. Get it? She is a literal predator. She is literally a praying mantis, and she is preying on students.
True. Yeah.
Like no one's like, yes, it is still gross. It's still creepy, but that is also the whole thing. She is the bad guy. So it's not like because it exists in the episode, we're saying that it's okay. Buffy and Will the whole time are like, that's skeezy, that's creepy. Her head just turned around 360 degrees. That's pretty sus.
Yeah, but they say that's weird. She might be evil. They don't say that's illegal and you're being groomed and exploited.
I think they would have gotten there either way. Obviously, the part where she's gonna kill them was more important. I think that was just taking precedence, you know?
Side note about her, Miss French, I hate her eyeshadow and
that weird beigey yellow.
That is just so matchy with the sweater she's wearing. Don't love it. So not only are you a predator, but you're also make poor makeup choices. That's worse than being ugly.
She wouldn't,
like you have actively done something to make yourself look worse.
She would not have turned my head. I have a great note. Check out how smart Buffy is bossing Giles around, because she actually did her bio homework. So when she tells him, go get bat sonar from this area of the section, like, I know it's not books, but we have this collection, blah, blah, blah. and she's delegating who's getting what and blah, blah, blah. I was just like, oh, she's so in charge. I love it.
There's that Slayer leadership.
Yes,
I love it too.
and that Slayer brain, that big, sexy brain.
I have 2 notes related to this. The first note I wrote in all caps, no, do not go to a teacher's house. I think is just a good practice in general.
Absolutely.
And then I love this quote from Giles when he says, this computer invasion Willow is performing on the coroner's office is legal, right? It's so British.
Right. Wasn't here. Didn't see you. Couldn't have stopped you. Love that. Yeah, I had that one written down.
It's good.
Gotta love those practical effects with the gigantic praying mantis. Love it.
Yeah, not the best puppet or whatever we've seen.
Yeah.
We're early on. They're getting their budget.
They're getting there.
Yeah.
But there is something I think that's great about, because I think if they had done like special effects, like computer generated stuff, I think it would have looked weird and maybe out of place, and it still wouldn't have been up to today's standards. So sometimes I like just having those good old animatronics or someone in a suit. Sometimes it's just better.
There is a charm to it,
don't
that's
mind
for
it.
sure. I don't love this exchange Xander has with Buffy outside, and I think by this point he's a little chemical crazy, so I'm willing to give him a little bit of grace, but I think it speaks to some other things that he's actually feeling. Buffy's like, I don't think she's human, and he says, I've met someone and you're jealous. Look, there's nothing I can do about it. There's just something chemical between Miss French and me. Well, yes, there. Yeah. There, she's seducing you. But like, I don't...
again, it's their characters do stupid stuff that's like, obviously it's stupid, but it definitely feels character motivated. He's a 16-year-old boy. You know, whether he truly in his heart of hearts believes that she's into him and they're going to have a thing, like, he wants to believe it, so he's letting himself believe it. So he's saying something stupid. And I do imagine that it could come off that way. Like, well, I asked you out and you said no. And now someone is showing interest. So back off.
I don't think he actually asked her. Yeah.
So, no, he didn't. He expressed interest last episode, which we talked about last episode. He did not literally say, hey, Buffy, let's go on a date. But in his teenage boy mind, he expressed interest and was turned down. It's not as if Buffy doesn't know that he's into her.
I think they are capturing the communications limitations of teenage boys well.
I think so. I agree with that for sure. This is definitely a very ew question, but how the fuck does a human man fertilize her eggs?
Yeah. I have a lot of logistical questions about at one point too, Xander, he has like wrist straps put on him.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? She doesn't, those little claws of hers don't look super opposable.
Those do not look like they have the dexterity to perform that. Maybe she
can turn her hands back and forth.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly she can turn her whole body back and forth. So maybe she does it to get them into the restraints. I don't know. That is a good question. I hadn't thought about that. Because, she would also need more opposable hands to lock them in the cage and stuff.
That's true.
I mean, the scare factor is certainly there. You're not going to... I mean, she is certainly intimidating enough, but...
You have a giant insect in front of you. Yeah, you're probably not going to fight back too hard.
Yeah.
The question of how that mating actually happens. Do you think when they made this episode,
do you think the writers know?
They knew that people were gonna analyze and wonder how it actually worked? Or are they like, no, people aren't gonna worry
They're not gonna look that far into it. Somebody always does.
Allie and I will.
I don't think that they should have gone into how that all works. I think it's perfectly fine, the vagaries that they left it at. But I'm still gonna wonder.
I have a question for you. I want you to decide, okay, let's say you are going to get killed by a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Choose between getting killed by a vampire or getting killed by a giant bug like this one.
Vampire, hardcore.
Okay, good. Yeah, it wasn't even a hard guess for me. This would be a terrible way to die. Because after the initial bite,
I feel like it probably feels kind of good.
Oh, interesting. I don't know about that. Certainly, I think quicker. I don't want my head taken off.
It's probably quicker. and probably less gross. And I don't know. I mean, like, is it a hot vampire?
Well, it's certainly not a hot bug, but there is a chance if it's a vampire.
I'm just
that the
saying, like,
vampire's
there's a
gonna be hot.
possibility that the experience with a vampire could overall not be unenjoyable.
Good. Okay, we're in agreement. We would like to get killed. If we have to get killed by a vampire, ideally it's a sexy vampire.
Oh, hardcore. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Totally preferable.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Good talk.
And I see we both have noted the same quote. Just for the record, you were right. I'm an idiot. God bless you.
That good one, Xander.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hey, it takes a strong man to admit that he was wrong. Good on you, Xander. That is showing some non-toxic masculinity.
I do love some non-toxic masculinity. I feel that I think this vampire that they introduced and offed in the same episode, I would have liked to hear. That's a Wolverine vampire is pretty cool. I don't know. We could have had him come back or do something, or that's pretty cool.
I mean, they did briefly talk about his backstory. He was apparently some vampire who was so devoted. He was made some mistake and got cast out by the master, but in an attempt to show his devotion, hacked off his hand, and that's how he ended up with the bladey hand.
Yeah, that's cool. We could have had an epic fight.
Yeah,
but I guess there's
something
cool
kind of cool about
too.
like that is what Angel came to warn her about, and then she like meets him and offs him, and it's fine.
I think we see Angel be very impressed with Buffy about the fact that she killed this vampire that gave him trouble so easily. But that's because Buffy's a badass.
Absolutely, and it kind of a little bit speaks to maybe him making excuses to see her, which is sweet.
I have a note at the end where she closes the closet door or whatever, and then the camera pans down and we see
the other eggs.
More
yes.
bug eggs. I hate bugs.
So gross.
Yeah, I don't love bugs.
But also, we never see the payoff of that, which is interesting.
That's true. Who knows? Be more.
Those never come back. Well, I guess they must not come back, because I think it would be pretty clear if some human-sized mantises hatched in the high school.
But somehow not the strangest thing that school has seen.
No, it's not. I have the note, Buffy and Angel's last encounter of the episode. And Buffy just goes, oh boy. Jaw feel, girlfriend. Jaw feel. I know we're making fun of a lot of Angel's moves and his very like cryptic, very moody guy. I would have been all over that. I if you look at the guys that I had crushes on in high school, it was definitely the kind of slightly wounded puppy, kind of moody. I would have been I was all over Angel. I've been in love with that character my entire life.
Mystery is alluring, isn't it?
It is. I'm not saying it's the most healthy, attractive quality out there, but it is nonetheless very attractive.
Why would I want somebody who likes me from the get-go?
Right? That's ridiculous.
Come on. Yeah. Give me a little bit of a chase here. Come on. Let me fix you. I can fix you. I'll fix you. It'll be fine. I'll be able to. Because then if
he changes for
people.
me, that means he like really likes me.
Yeah. Yeah, that has worked out famously for me in the past, for sure.
100%. Yeah.
There's there's two quotes that I forgot to mention. There's one from the beginning where Buffy first sees Angel in the bronze and she says, I'd say it's nice to see you, but we know that's a big fib. And there are so many people in my day-to-day life. I would love to say that too.
Oh, yes, but not in a sexy bantery way. In a completely honest, like, we know this is a lie. I am not happy to see you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Being in your presence drains me of my energy, and it is not nice or pleasant to see you at all.
I feel like we all have that mental list of those people.
And then I like this quote. Buffy and Willow are making fun of Xander in the cafeteria, and they say, the younger man is too dumb to wonder why an older woman can't find someone her own age and too desperate to care about the surgical improvements.
Yes. Burn.
Buffy has some good dunks.
She sure does. And see, that is them hinting towards, this not being an okay situation. Again, not bringing up the predator stuff, but like, I'm also not sure that a teenager, like a fellow teenager, can appreciate the ick factor of that situation. I think us looking back, like, it's hard to say.
I remember when we were seniors in high school, I knew of one girl who was dating a 19-year-old or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very strong ick factor. I was like 18, like that's kind of when there's a legal line there, I don't know. I'm concerned. I don't love that. But then I guess I didn't like call the cops or anything. And so maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But underage listeners, if your teacher shows interest in you, that's not normal.
Nope.
Bad.
Bad. Yes. Absolutely bad. Tell your parents, tell somebody. Run, not okay. And a teacher should never try to put you in a situation where they're alone with you, ever.
Nastiness. So a theme that I have from this episode is I think this pressure that, I don't know if girls felt it, dudes definitely feel it, this pressure to have sex right away or be the first person to have sex, have your debut or whatever, that is so real.
And the idea of being a virgin being something to be embarrassed about. Definitely a huge factor in lots of people's lives. I didn't feel a huge pressure, certainly not in our friend group, and also just not in general, because I just don't, peer pressure isn't a thing on me. When people be like, do it, you won't, no balls, I'd be like, yeah, you're right, I won't. Like, I don't care. The whole like, I dare you doesn't have an effect on me, because I'm like, you know what I could also do? Not that.
I think when somebody tries to egg me on to doing something, I'm less likely to do it.
Yeah.
If I feel like you are pressuring me to, I'm like,
now I super don't want to do it.
Now, just for the sake of being obstinate, I'm going to. I'm not doing that. I'm certainly not doing it now.
But it is absolutely a thing that people still make a thing of, which is hopefully becoming less and less as the generations go on. But I did find that a lovely little moment where we find out that Blaine, who's supposedly the man, is also a virgin.
Real talk. And you don't got to be embarrassed about it, Blaine. It's okay.
Oh. Also, Blaine reminds me, have you ever seen Pretty in Pink?
I've not seen Pretty in Pink.
The love interest is...
I'm Googling it now.
The love interest is called Blaine, and when the main character is talking to Ducky, her best friend, about it, he's like, what kind of name is Blaine? That's an appliance.
I'll have to check it out. Pretty in Pink. Lovely.
I do find that it stands up, in my opinion.
What other themes or reactions do you have to this episode, Allie?
I think the kind of just sexuality, sexual tension, sort of a puberty kind of theme, finding interest in other people, and maybe just kind of like stupid teens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much what I had. Not every episode is going to have some big, meaningful thing, but also I guess I kind of mentioned earlier, just like predators, both literal and figurative.
It's our first creature villain.
Yeah.
We've had witches and vampires, so that's I think a noteworthy thing about this episode, which is neat.
For sure. And I definitely noticed in this episode the growing relationship between Buffy and Willow, like the budding besties thing. See, especially when, you kind of get to have a girl talk when they're talking about Xander and like judging him together. That was just very sweet to see.
And like you noted earlier, I think the continued development we're seeing in Buffy as a leader that we definitely see. That's also kind of neat to watch again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the end of my notes. Any last thoughts?
That's the end of mine too. I think we might be about to
wrap this
up, Allie.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then I think that about does it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you'll join us again for our next episode, where we'll discuss Season 1, Episode 5, Never Kill a Boy on the First Date.
This is one of my favorites from this season, so I'm really excited to talk about this one. And if you are just too excited to wait until our next episode to chat, send us an email at tabularasabpod, that's TABULARSABPOD @gmail.com. And you can also say hello to us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Tabula Rasa Pod. Allie, how can
Lovely.
people get in contact with you?
You can find me in the places. You can find me at DaughterPick on Instagram and Twitter, DAUGHTERPICK. And if you want to toss a couple bucks my way, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/AlliePress.
And our amazing listeners, all social media handles are going to be in the description. Be sure to check us out, and I hope everybody makes the proudest of choices.
Have a lovely time. Until next time.
Bye.
Tabula Rasa Bitches is hosted by Allie Press and Nick Mercer, with music by Inflaton Cult, artwork by Charlotte Fleming Design, and consultation by Evo Terra.